The 1991-92 Italian season reaches the halfway mark, and already Milan, the unbeaten league leaders, are on the point of making history. A win against Foggia here today will set a new record of 29 points over half a season. Foggia are last season's second division champions. They've made a creditable return to the top flight after an absence of 13 years. Milan have two defenders back from suspension, Mauro Tassotti on his 32nd birthday and Alessandro Costacurta, Gambaro and Filippo Galli dropping out. Carlo Ancelotti is rested in a reshuffle to accommodate the return at number 10 of Ruud Gullit, who's been suffering from flu and this week with a sore back. Foggia really are the free spirits amidst this disciplined division, committed to attack, vulnerable in defence. Igor Shalimov, one of two players from the former Soviet Union, Igor Kolivanov the other, he's a substitute today. And the other foreigner, Dan Petrescu, a Romanian from Steaua Bucharest. Baiano and Signori, the joint top scorers with 7 goals each. Milan's exploits getting such worldwide acclaim through the medium of television. They have so many supporters now all around the globe, and there's a great sense of anticipation here in the stadium itself, because of course the last time that Milan performed here they put on that masterful showing at the expense of Napoli. Can they do it again against a team which has a reputation for a defence that's somewhat on the poorer side? It's coached by a Czechoslovakian, Zdeněk Zeman, who's been operating in Italy since 1981. Foggia kick-off on a very cold afternoon in the San Siro stadium. And Milan looking to take this marvellous undefeated record up to the halfway mark in the fixture programme, mindful of the fact that the champions of 1990 Napoli and the champions of 1989 Inter both lost for the first time in their 17th game. Here's Massaro, and it promises to be a very busy afternoon for Francesco Mancini in the Foggia goal. Foggia, who offer plenty in attack, but their defending has looked at times to be lower than first division standard, but largely through their attacking ideas they come into this game, which is a huge test for them. 8th in the table, and they have played here once already this season, on the opening day in fact, and they drew 1-1 with Inter. The same result today would thrill them. Baroni, the number 10. And there is a similarity in styles here, in that both teams play a zonal system of defending, and in a way Milan have set out a blueprint for Foggia to try and follow, but they're a bit short in executing the ideas, but they can score goals. Maldini having to scurry there against Rambari. Avani keeping the ball in play. Maldini, who went off at half-time in Verona last week with a bruised cheekbone and missed out on a national team get-together. Arrigo Sacchi had the international players for a training camp earlier in the week, but Maldini didn't make it because of last weekend's injury. The 4 of the Milan squad were there. And here's Gullit trying to sneak in, but Grandini had him covered. Signori. He and Baiano really have been a bright, striking pair for Foggia. Baiano's done so well, in fact, that he's played twice for Italy this season. And he too was at the Arrigo Sacchi get-together. Gullit with a throw. The weather in this part of Italy hasn't been at all good over the past few days. They have had a lot of mist, and there is a suspicion that it might come down again later in the day. Fog with Foggia about, I suppose, is perhaps a wrong sort of omen. And here's Verona, didn't quite take it in his stride, and you're seeing already the two dimensions of this Foggia team. Milan finding some room in their attacks, but Foggia not coming here just to contain the league leaders, you can be sure of that. And it should be a match full of zest, and one would suspect, although we're never quite sure in the Italian First Division, suspect a good number of goals to enjoy. Here's Hullet with a chance to pick out Massaro or Van Basten with a cross. He couldn't achieve that. Four minutes gone, and a very bright start. Rambaudi for Foggia. Shalimov, now a member of the Commonwealth of Independent States, CIS, the former Soviet Union. We must get used to calling them that. Here he is, the number 4, Shalimov. Rambaudi, number 7. Baresi, well, you know all about him, but he's given away a free kick. Gianni Beskin, the referee, very well placed to adjudge. Fabio Capello, for whom this season is turning into a triumph, but there's a long way to go. Here comes Signori, and Rossi having to deal with a chance that really shouldn't have materialised. No time to dwell on that. Bullets away, and down he goes. Ruud Gullit has already, with 9 minutes gone on his return to the side, made an impact. Contact from Consagra. But how intentional was it? So Mancini has to face Marco Van Basten. This to give Milan the lead. Absolutely no doubt. A thumping penalty. And Milan are on their way. Well, that was, I would venture to say, unstoppable. Even had Mancini gone the right way, it flew into the corner. So Foggia are a goal down, a goal they're not happy about. Consagra moved across as Gullit made inroads into the penalty area. And any sort of touch there, and Gullit was going to make sure that Milan got the maximum punishment handed out to Foggia. Well, one thinks of what happened here a fortnight ago, when Milan, against, on paper, tougher opposition, Napoli, absolutely ran riot. But Foggia looking to fight back. Baroni. And Foggia trying to forge a forward path again. They looked to knock the ball into Baiano's feet and build from that. Didn't work for them then. Signori not offside, but the defending was deeper and safer from Costa Curta. Last Sunday, Foggia Quite arguably their best win of the season. They beat Genoa at home by 1-0. It was popped in by Petrescu. Prior to that, they'd gone 5 games without a win in a settling down period to the difficulties of Division 1 in Italy. Sometimes the promoted clubs are given some false hopes with some useful results in the early games, but it does even out over this 34-game programme. Massaro for Hullet, it sat up for the shot. It was hit towards the far post just in case Van Basten might reach it if it flew on wide. Well, I think Hullet there was aiming primarily for the back of the net, and he didn't find it. Maldini. Donadoni in the way, with Foggia tossing possession away then. Hullet. There's no offside this time. Consagra had a look at the linesman, and on goes Van Basten, and it's dealt with just at the near post by Mancini. The angle was awkward for Van Basten then, and it very nearly, the shot almost found a gap under the goalkeeper. Mancini would have been desolate, I think, if it had gone in that area. Offside, and Massaro was, what, 7 or 8 metres in advance of the halfway line. Verona, and here is Grandini. This is a chance for Foggia. Oh dear. Well, maybe a moment of panic to be in such a promising position. He looked up to see what was on, and I think in that moment the ball just spun on a little bit, and when he swung the left leg, the ball wasn't exactly where Grandini thought he'd left it. Touchdown by Baiano. Petrescu for Signori. Promising this for Foggia. Rambaudi for Baiano, and Costa Curta had to be on top of his game then, and on top of his immediate opponent. Shalamov, but only Rijkaard read the flick. Massaro, now Evani. Out of play. Foggia only have a small squad, certainly by Milan standards, and there are a couple of senior players, Picasso and Porro, unavailable today through injury. But it has bred tremendous fellowship and the capacity to work for each other, which you're seeing here. Rambaudi, but they're being asked to put on a show against the most difficult of opposition. Massaro. Baresi. Now, what can Hullet do here? He's got Van Basten going down the near touchline. Hullet joining Rijkaard in the centre. It was a pretty solid header by Frank Rijkaard. So the 3 Dutch stars working as a unit here. And Rijkaard meeting Van Basten's cross from some distance. Signori. Passotti tight on Barone. Shalimov. Well, on another occasion the game might have been stopped there for a foul by Maldini. It is now for offside against Massaro, which doesn't help Foggia now. It's Costa Curta who was sent tumbling by Matricano when Costa Curta was about to charge on for goal. And Foggia await the fate for the number 5 when he's back on his feet again. Matricano sent off 2 weeks ago. One would feel that a yellow card would be an appropriate punishment for that, because there was still a lot for Costa Curta to do. But the referee will adjudicate, and I think that's absolutely right. The Milan fans don't agree. He took him out, there's no doubt about that. I think he's relieved. 3 minutes to go to half-time. Donadoni for Rijkaard. Out by Codispoti. And Hullet has sprung the trap, has a look to see what's on in the centre. Oh, Van Basten's missed his kick. The goal was gaping. And Marco Van Basten showed that there is a human side to him. Usually so ruthless in that type of opportunity. But he didn't just miss the target, he missed the ball. Donadoni. And if Foggia went 2 down with half-time 2 minutes away, well, I think as a contest, maybe some of the steam would then go out of it. But it's still just 1-0. And a fallibility there from Marco Van Basten that will cheer all those who play for fun and have done that to their own acute embarrassment in amateur football. Grandini might have been better for Foggia if his chance to cross the ball earlier in the half had been taken with a bit more confidence when they got in behind Milan down this near side. Baiano with the throw. Shalimov. Rijkaard getting a foot in. Donadoni. Hullet. And Van Basten, now Rijkaard. Well, it's a dangerous game that Foggia are playing, and Mancini, who's got a reputation for being very adventurous out of his goal, on the lines of the South American goalkeeper Higuita. Well, Mancini's got to come here against Massaro, but in the end the job was done for him by Matricano, and it was a terrific piece of tackling back. Massaro was poised for the kill then, but he just took too long. And Matricano, already booked of course, had absolutely no margin for error then, and he got to the ball. And Foggia, the team with this vulnerable defensive side to their play, are still in the match in Milan at half-time. Zdeněk Zeman's team have conceded a goal. It came in the 10th minute from Marco van Basten when Hullet was brought down by Consagra, and Van Basten did the necessary from the spot. But Foggia have fought well in midfield, and they still have Baiano and Signori. We haven't seen the best of them as yet, but they're still a menace to Milan's lead, which at half-time is by 1-0. At half-time, Fabio Capello has decided to freshen his midfield mix by bringing on Demetrio Albertini, whose first contribution is a cross within seconds of his arrival to stretch Mancini and to give Milan a corner right at the outset. They lead by 1-0. Albertini very nearly made it too. Well, quite an impact from a young player who felt he was fit enough to start the game, but his coach had a different perspective on the situation. It's another corner. Albertini coming onto the previous corner and firing in the shot that was turned aside. Van Basten looping it back in. Albertini again. Will Van Basten reach it? Not quite. Shalimov shut the door in his face. Albertini has replaced Alberigo Evani. But Foggia, who were giving Milan something of a taste of their own medicine in the way they play, and certainly enjoying a fair share of the spoils in midfield, now have to face Hullet in full cry. Shalimov's run with him, and here comes Van Basten! Brilliant! Foggia were flying into the Milan half, and when they lost out, they were crippled here by a quality counter-attack in which the final flourish from Marco van Basten was just as deadly as the build-up play that preceded it. 2 minutes played since the restart, and Milan have imposed their class on some gallant opponents here who just couldn't come up with an answer. It was a superbly constructed goal. It's come to Hullet via the back of Grandini. In comes Rijkaard. Oh, and it hit Massaro. That's an old-fashioned look from Frank Rijkaard to his teammate. It's a goal kick. No Foggia player involved in the defending here. Milan, in the shape of Massaro, stopped their own third goal, which would surely have come about if Massaro had been able to get out of the way. Maldini. Donadoni. Deresi, Baiano trying to hurry him. Matricano coming in rather clumsily on the back of Van Basten, but he got to the ball as well. Lovely control by Donadoni. But now Foggia with Rambaudi on the ball, Baiano outside him, and a foul by Albertini, who's involved in everything at the moment. This is going on while Van Basten's still just feeling that damage back. Rambaudi to tee up Signori for Baiano, but again, Foggia feeling that they've got to do everything just a little more quickly than possibly they need to do because of the quality of the opposition. Massaro, Van Basten who's on a hat-trick, but Massaro went for goal himself. tightish angle. But Van Basten was moving better then and able to play a part in the build-up, and in fact was herring into the centre, hoping that Massaro might cut the ball back. As Zeman makes a change, and Rambari, who's really been on the edges of the game, is substituted. And Lopolito and Kolivanov, with Petrescu coming off as well, so it's a double change. They do say in the game, never make one substitution when your team is conceding a corner, let alone two. And that's what Foggia have done. And Mancini's lost the ball and grabbed it back from Rijkaard. It was Hullet jumping with the goalkeeper. And the goalkeeper bouncing it then, which might have caught the eye of the linesman or the referee. Well, Fabio Capello just assessing, I'm sure, what the substitutions mean for Foggia, whether he's got to make a move to counteract it with one more change at his disposal. As judged by Massaro. Baiano, pressed by Maldini. Rijkaard, offside. Both Albertini and Van Basten. It seemed to me that it was a delayed fall by Kolivanov. He's only made a handful of appearances since coming from Dynamo Moscow. Signori, oh, and here's Shalimov! Foggia are back in the match. Milan were distracted, attracted to the far side of the field, and they were watching the ball and not the man. And Shalimov strolled forward here, unmarked, and simply side-footed it, like a little gentle pass, really, past the goalkeeper. And it's Milan 2, Foggia 1. Foggia, the side you'd always fancy to get a goal, have done just that. Rijkaard. Foggia's attempt to play offside does look a weak link. And you do sense that if Milan rediscover the complete sense of purpose that had deserted them between their second goal and the first for Foggia, that is going to be a route towards more chances. Albertini. Hullet was back on his heels. Shalimov responsible, Milan believe, for Van Basten going down. The referee didn't see it that way. It's not of a mind as yet to give Milan a second penalty. Well, certainly Foggia now have a chance to dent severely Milan's impressive defensive run. The best defence in the league, according to goals conceded, the best attack in the manner of goals scored. The best team, few would dispute that, except perhaps Juventus. But they're not looking that at the moment. But the measure of champions, of course, is how they respond in adversity. Here comes Mancini. Loves doing that sort of thing. Donadoni has given the ball away. I think it's been forced on Mancini, this cavalier style of goalkeeping. They're a cavalier team, Foggia. And something of the old Corinthian spirit about them. And they've kept at Milan here, and now they've just got a toehold back in the contest. And it's their supporters who continue to make the greater noise. Codispoti going with Van Basten. Signori, now Baiano. Shalimov, it's all a bit tight, but Shalimov came up with an answer where there seemed to be none at all. Kolivanov, Baiano, Foggia, plough on. Kolivanov is still there. And Milan looking less than masterful. Donadoni. Will Hullet make another major impact on the proceedings and stop some of this anxiety that's pervading Milan on the field and around the stands as well? Van Basten. Massaro. Complaints again. The game goes on. Donadoni. Foggia have got to be careful with their challenges here. They mustn't give the referee a chance to blow for a penalty with so many appeals. Now Codispoti. Foggia, such an unfashionable club. It's only their 8th season ever at this level of the Italian league. Their best spell in the mid-60s when they had 3 consecutive seasons. But they've certainly shown over the first half of this that the club that were champions of the second division last season can really expect to stay up. Such a huge gap in Italy between the top of the second and the best teams in the first. But Foggia looking very much at home in the San Siro stadium against a team that are undefeated in the league since last May, when they were beaten not too far away from Foggia at Bari. Maldini. Donadoni. Massaro. The advantage played, and Donadoni could have ended the concern here. It's not the best feature of his game. He's a craftsman, but one-on-one with goalkeepers, well, you're never quite sure. And Donadoni was unable to accomplish the task then. Kolivanov, Matricano, Baiano. Kolivanov gets a prod at the ball. This is Codispoti. Now Shalimov. More worry for Milan. Shalimov again. Baresi hopes the ball will run behind without having to intervene himself, but he did do that. It is a corner with 8 minutes to go. Signori assessing where his teammates are placed, and he goes for the short one, and Milan saw it coming. It's always annoying. It doesn't give those who come upfield a chance to make an impact. Consagra. Hullet. Well, Grandini, who is 24 years old, but learning about life at this level of the game, has had quite a task against Hullet, but he stood his ground well. And now Higuita style, Mancini is there again as Simone gets stripped to be sent on. Donadoni offering to come off, it seemed. But it's going to be Hullet. You remember, didn't take part in the last 2 games. well, it can reflect that he earned the penalty. He provided the pass from wide on the right-hand side for Milan to set up Marco van Basten for the second Milan goal. And Simone, what an entrance. Oh, it's got to be another penalty. And it's Consagra again. Simone was too sprightly for Foggia at the back, and Consagra sent him flying. And Marco van Basten is on a hat-trick, and this should mean the match for Milan. As with everything that he does, it's of the highest order, anticipating a fling to one side for the goalkeeper and just clipping the ball over the dive. 3 for Milan and a hat-trick for the great Van Basten. And Foggia well and truly flattened. Mancini with another sortie out of goal. The Milan record will shortly officially read: played 17, won 12, drawn 5. 32 goals scored over the first half of the season, just 8 conceded, 29 points. It makes marvellous reading from their point of view. It terrifies the rest of the Italian league, for whom the pace has been too hot so far. And you do feel over the second half of the season that Milan can only lose the title from their own fall from grace, if that's possible. But the opponents will have learnt something from the way Foggia have fought all the way here. We're in the second minute of stoppage time. Consagra, who conceded both penalties. But Foggia refused to concede ground over the shape of the match. Their defensive shortcomings in the end have been exposed again. But they'll certainly continue to get goals as the return fixtures take shape. But you do feel that when Milan go to Foggia on the last day of the season, they will go already crowned as champions. Over the first half, they have set this new record, their points tally of 29. But it's been hard graft for them here, and how grateful they've been for Marco van Basten. 2 perfect penalties, and sandwiched in between, one of Milan's goals of the season. Shalimov scoring for Foggia, and they certainly deserve something from the game. It's finished Milan 3, Foggia 1.
Juventus have to try to keep on winning and hope that Milan are more fallible in the second part of the season. A straightforward victory over Verona, aided by an own goal, as Luca Pellegrini panicked in trying to cut out a cross from Casiraghi. Not an error to explain away easily. Roberto Baggio picking out Jurgen Kohler at the free kick. Verona still in the game though at half-time, though Gregori in their goal had to see off this shot on the run from Salvatore Schillaci. But 19 minutes into the second half, Schillaci had his revenge when there seemed to be little danger. A sensational goal. Schillaci has been such a marked man since his World Cup exploits. Only the 6th league match in which he scored since Italia 90. But a magical moment like this, the promise of better times to come. Verona beaten now, though Renica tried to raise their hopes from long range. Juventus stayed 3 points behind Milan. Well, stand by for an amazing game in Genoa, a mixture of marvellous play and muddled defending. Like this, when Zola's free kick somehow finds a passage past Braglia and his fellow Genoa defenders. Napoli stretched their lead to 2-0 here. Andrea Silenzi, in only his third start of the season, allowed to take aim and find his target. Carlos Aguilera's free kick then diverted in by Thomas Scudravi, and Genoa back in the game, still only half an hour gone. But 10 minutes later, they were 3-1 adrift. Silenzi setting up Careca for his 10th goal of the season. The excitement extended into the second half. Bortolazzi with a beautifully struck free kick. Giovanni Galli with a rare moment of goalkeeping satisfaction in this match. And Bortolazzi had a part in the move which led to a second goal for Genoa. Ruotolo cutting the ball back. Aguilera clearing the way at the near post for Scuravi's second. 3-2 to Napoli after 58 minutes. But once more, Napoli's response to losing a goal was decisive. Genoa very generous at the back, and this time Alamao angling the ball in. Genoa 2, Napoli 4. No giving up, though, from Scuravi, whose World Cup showing for Czechoslovakia earned him the riches of a club career in Italy. His hat-trick completed in the final seconds, doubling his tally for the season. His crusade for Genoa, a losing cause in the end. Napoli holding on for an extraordinary victory. Lazio are having a good season. The prospect of Paul Gascoigne's arrival has kept their present three foreigners on their toes. Thomas Doll has looked a bargain from Germany. Cagliari a goal behind after 4 minutes. Uruguay's Ruben Sosa is less consistent but still capable of unhinging defences. And after that misjudgment, grateful for a glorious pass from substitute Giovanni Stroppa. 2-0 to Lazio in the 4th minute of the second half. Suitably celebrated by the maker and the taker of the opportunity. Cagliari forced onto the offensive, Mobili with a meaty shot into the side netting. A better chance now for Nardini, who was slow to make up his mind. And then a goal to jolt Lazio out of their complacency. Francescoli heading down for Napoli. 2-1. And Napoli again here, frustrated by Fiori at full stretch. Karl-Heinz Riedler trying to reconstitute Lazio's attack. The warning signs were heeded, and Doll drove another fine effort against the frame of the goal. Ruben Sosa could have made absolutely sure of victory, but Lazio didn't need a third goal, even though one of their substitutes, Bertova, was sent off. Fiorentina usually function well in their own stadium in Florence, and they soon put Parma under pressure. The result from Branca's cross, a first-minute own goal by Apolloni. Branca close to a goal of his own here after Argentinian acrobatics from Batistuta. Parma needing to be positive now. Melli setting a good example. Ozio following in, but Fiorentina standing firm. Until a trip by Pioli on Melli as he made another dangerous dart towards goal. Pioli sent packing by referee Lanese, and Parma looking for an equaliser now against 10 men. It almost arrived from Benarivo's header, and then 4 minutes into the second half, Ozio made the opening and Georges Gruen angled the ball into goal. Parma couldn't go on to win the match. They almost lost it to Batistuta. Fiorentina won, Parma won. Ascoli's confidence as low as their league position. Just one win, only 6 points from a disastrous first half to their season. Torino far too strong, and Noni attacking well, and Ascoli allowing Gianluca Lentini to nip in to force the ball in off Marcato. 20 minutes later, it was Lentini again, given so much space. Torino have been inept in front of goal for much of the season, but revelling in the room given to them in this match. Laurieri just coping with Enzo Scipo's shot from long distance. It was Scipo who supplied Roberto Policano with Torino's third, with 48 minutes gone. And but for Laurieri, the margin of defeat would have been even more dreadful for Ascoli. Torino's biggest win by far, Trollio with the only shot that troubled them. A fourth goal when Bresciani was bundled over, and Bresciani himself struck home the penalty. More agony for Ascoli's long-suffering supporters with the sending off of Zaini. Cremonese against Sampdoria, a local derby, and it was settled by an early goal from a Sampdoria signing from Cremonese, Attilio Lombardo, with plenty of help from his former friends after Gianluca Vialli had hit the post. Toninho Cerezo might have made more of this Mancini free kick. And then Sreko Katanets sent Mancini himself clear, but he lacked the necessary composure. Cremonese tried hard to catch up, Lombardini extending Pagliuca. And shortly after that, their signing from Slovenia, Maciej Floriancic, wanted too much time. At the other end, Rampula stopped Sampdoria, pulling away early in the second half. Cremonese's hot-tempered Argentinian De Zotti got away with this dreadful elbow into Viekovod's face. And he was still on the field when Vialli's work on the far side was almost rounded off by Lombardo. And it was De Zotti who laid the ball off for Piccioni to come close for Cremonese. It would have been an injustice if he teed up an equaliser after his earlier bad behaviour. For drama of the right kind, though, no better place than Bari, who produced a remarkable revival after Terraceneri's moment of madness contributed to the recent renaissance of Roma's Rudi Voller. Voller, without a league goal until the previous Sunday, now has 3 in 2 games. David Platt's eye for an opening apparent again before half-time, but what followed was scarcely expected. Voller continued to bombard Bari, but with only 22 minutes left, Platt started to steal the show. The ball deflected back to him and rifled past Roma. Platt's 6th in the league this season, 4 more to his name in the Italian Cup, and all this with scant scoring support. Giannini could have still earned Roma both points, but with only 2 minutes to go, they went to Bari instead. Robert Ianni so unlucky with the header, but David Platt pounced as the ball bounced down from the crossbar. Admirable anticipation from the England international. Only Bari's 11th league goal so far. Platt has 7 of them. The new year looking brighter for Bari. 2 wins in their last 3 games. For Inter, though, heavy clouds have gathered. Coach Corrado Orico had his job on the line away to Atalanta. Inter's recent form uninspiring. Claudio Canigia, a thorn in their side in Bergamo. Shortly after hitting the post, Canigia sent crashing by Paganini. And the Brazilian, Bianchesi, beating Walter Zenga with power and placement from the penalty spot. Inter lucky to survive here. When Zenga went missing, Bourdin didn't cash in on Peroni's clever centre. Into the second half, Desideri striving to find a road to recovery for Inter. 2 red cards in the game for Peri and Piovanelli. Zenga still on red alert to stop substitute Valentini. Lothar Matthäus claimed he'd been hit by an object thrown from the crowd before this corner, which Bergami almost turned in for an equaliser. It is a ground where there's been trouble before, and we may not have heard the last of that. But it is the end of Orico as Inter's coach. He resigned after the defeat. A look first of all at the lower half of the table, where Bari have moved above Cremonese, and thanks largely to David Platt, have much more optimism about a recovery over the second half of the season. Sampdoria out of the bottom section, starting to get back towards where they believe they belong. 4 consecutive wins. Inter, out of Europe early, now have dropped to 9th. Juventus have certainly benefited from Trapattoni's return, but at the time when Orico has resigned from Inter, the other coach in Milan, Fabio Capello, is carrying all before him. Marco van Basten's 3 goals against Foggia has put him clear in the scorers chart, clear of Riedler of Lazio in Germany and Careca of Napoli in Brazil. Van Basten's record since he came to Italy in 1987 is so impressive: 65 goals in 117 league games. But the last time Milan won the title in his first season, injury restricted him to a minor contribution, just 11 matches. But if Milan do regain the championship for the first time since 1988, he's clearly determined to be at the forefront this time.